When your child refuses dinner again, you probably beg, bargain, or cook something else. But here's what you don't realize. Every one of those responses, totally understandable, is actually training them to refuse. In France, parents follow one simple rule with two invisible pillars that stops the battles completely. Picture this. It's 6:30 p.m. Dinner's ready. Your child takes one look and says, "I don't like this." So you bargain. 3 bites for dessert. You negotiate. Just try the chicken. Or exhausted from a long day, you give in and make mac and cheese. And as you're standing there cooking the second meal, you feel it. That mix of defeat and guilt and confusion. You're trying so hard. But somehow, mealtimes have become a battlefield. Here's what you need to know. What you're doing out of love is accidentally making it worse. And once you understand what's actually happening, you can stop. So let's talk about the 3 mistakes you're probably making right now without even realizing it. Mistake number 1, offering backup meals. When your child refuses dinner and you make them something else, you've just taught them something powerful. If I refuse hard enough, I get what I want. Mistake number 2, pressure. Just one more bite. Every time you do this, you're activating the control paradox. The more you push, the more they resist. Mistake number 3, grazing. The goldfish crackers at 4 p.m., the granola bar handed over in the car seat on the way home from daycare, the juice box shoved in their hands while they're playing. These seem harmless, but here's what you might not realize. You're removing the one ingredient that makes children willing to try new foods: hunger. So what do French parents do differently? They follow one simple rule with 2 supporting pillars that most Americans have never heard of. But before I show you exactly how it works, you need to understand why your child behaves this way in the first place. Because once you understand the biology, everything makes sense. Here's what's actually happening inside your child's brain. First, there's neophobia. That's the scientific term for fear of new foods. Think about your own adult life. When you try a new restaurant serving unfamiliar cuisine, don't you feel a little hesitant? That's neophobia. Your child feels that times 10 because their brain is hardwired for survival. They're not being difficult, they're being developmentally normal. So that's the biological wiring. But there's a second force at play that's even more powerful. Second, there's the control paradox. Imagine if your spouse stood over you at dinner saying, "Just 3 more bites of salad, honey. Come on, you need your vegetables." You'd want to throw the plate across the room, right? Your toddler feels the exact same way. When you pressure them to eat, even gentle pressure, their brain perceives it as a loss of autonomy, and humans resist control. Studies show that when parents use pressure tactics, children actually eat less of the food. Not more, less. And then there's the third piece, the one that can override both of these if you get it right. Third, there's the appetite cycle. Have you ever noticed that when you're actually hungry, not bored snacking, but genuinely hungry, even plain foods taste amazing? That's the appetite cycle, and your child has lost access to it. Most American children never experience real appetite at mealtime because we've been taught that hunger is dangerous, that we need to prevent it at all costs. French parents understand something different, and here's the part that's going to sound controversial. French parents let their children get hungry before meals, on purpose. Not starving, not deprived, genuinely, appropriately hungry. Because managing mild hunger before meals isn't neglect, it's structure. It's the biological key that unlocks everything else. Okay, so here's the French rule, and I need you to listen carefully, because there are actually 3 parts, and most people only know about the first one. The rule is called le menu unique, 1 family, 1 meal. In France, there is 1 menu at dinner. The parent decides what's served. No alternate meals, no backup options, no negotiations. Now, before you think this sounds harsh, let me show you why it's actually the kindest thing you can do. This isn't authoritarian, it's structural. The parent's job is to decide what, when, and where food is served. The child's job is to decide whether and how much to eat. This is the golden rule of feeding dynamics. You provide, they decide. You're not forcing them to swallow a full portion. You're just not short order cooking. But that's not the secret. Part 2, the mandatory taste. In France, children are not forced to eat everything on their plate, they're not forced to finish anything, but they are required to taste it. Just 1 polite taste, every time. And here's the language that matters. You don't have to like it, sweetie, you do have to taste it so your tongue learns. So how do you actually enforce this without it becoming a battle? You use sensory talk. When your child tastes something new, you ask, "Is it crunchy or soft?" Is it salty or sweet? What does it smell like? This does something brilliant. It shifts the focus from whether they're eating to what the food is like. It turns tasting into curiosity instead of compliance. French parents see this as palate training. Like teaching your child to read. You wouldn't skip reading lessons just because they're hard. The same logic applies to food, a tiny taste. And for a fearful child, even smelling the food or touching it to their lips counts as a taste. No pressure to swallow, no judgment, just exposure. Because here's what the research shows. Children need 8 to 15 exposures to a new food before they accept it. Most American parents give up after 3 tries. And for most families, those 2 parts alone create significant improvement. But if you want this to work consistently, day after day, there's a third element that's absolutely non-negotiable. But here's what nobody tells you. And this is why most families fail with the French approach, even when they try it. Part 3, the 2-hour hunger window. This is the invisible requirement, the piece that makes everything else work. Without this, the other 2 rules will fail every single time. French children don't graze. They have structured meal times and one snack time called le goûter, usually around 4 p.m. A small snack, maybe some fruit and a piece of bread. But then, nothing except water until dinner. And be careful, don't let them chug a huge glass of water right before the meal, or that will fill their stomach too. No goldfish crackers, no juice boxes. No, just a little something at 5:30. If your child ate chips an hour before dinner, this entire system will fail no matter how perfectly you follow the other rules. Because they're not hungry. And without hunger, there's no biological incentive to try the green beans. You need a 2 to 3 hour hunger window before dinner. This isn't starvation. This isn't deprivation. This is allowing their natural appetite to build so that when they sit down at the table, their body is actually ready to eat. And that's when everything shifts. When a child arrives at the table genuinely hungry, something changes. Their resistance softens. Their natural curiosity kicks in. Their brain becomes more open to trying new foods. Hunger is the missing ingredient. So, let me show you exactly what this looks like in practice. Step 1. Serve one balanced meal. Include variety, protein, vegetables, a carb. But make sure there's at least one safe food on the table. By safe food, I mean something you know for a fact they will eat without a fight, like the bread or the fruit. This ensures your child always has something to fill up on, which lowers your anxiety and theirs. Step 2. Require a polite taste of everything. Use the language. You don't have to like it. You do have to taste it so your tongue learns. Step 3. After they taste, they decide what else to eat from what's on the table. You don't hover. You don't count bites. Step 4. Maintain the schedule. If they don't eat much, the next meal comes at the next scheduled time. No emergency snacks. Step 5. Do not comment on what or how much they eat. Let me show you the exact conversation. Your child sits down. They see green beans on their plate. They immediately say, "I don't like green beans." You respond calmly, "You don't have to like them, sweetie. You do have to taste them. Just one taste, so your tongue learns." They hesitate. You wait. No pressure. No hovering. Finally, they take a tiny bite. They make a face, maybe even a dramatic gagging sound. You stay completely calm. You lean in with curiosity. "Okay, so what did you notice? Was it crunchy or soft?" They pause, thinking. "Soft and squishy." "Interesting, soft and squishy. Thank you for tasting. Now, what else would you like from the table?" They eat the chicken and the rice. They don't touch the green beans again. And that right there, that's a win, because they tasted them. That's exposure number 1. This is where most American parents give up. But here's what they're missing. Next time you serve green beans, they'll be slightly more familiar. By the 8th time, they might eat 2 bites. By the 15th, they might actually like them. This is the long game, and feedback from families implementing this exact approach shows a clear pattern. Within 2 weeks, the vast majority of parents report fewer mealtime battles. Within a month, their kids are trying foods they used to refuse without being asked. Not because we forced them, because we created the conditions that made their bodies want to eat. Now, as you're thinking about implementing this, 3 questions probably just popped into your head. Let me address them. Question 1. What if my child doesn't eat anything at dinner? Here's the thing. If your child arrives at the table genuinely hungry and there's at least one safe food available, they will eat something. Children have incredibly strong survival instincts. Their bodies won't let them starve when food is available. They might not eat much, and they might not eat what you hoped, but they will eat. Hungry children eat. Now, if they refuse everything, here's what you do. Nothing. You stay calm. You say, okay, you don't have to eat, but this is what we're having for dinner. The kitchen closes after dinner and breakfast is at 7 a.m. And then you follow through. One missed meal does not harm a typically developing, healthy, hydrated child. Obviously, if your child has diabetes or a medical condition requiring strict calorie intake, you follow your doctor's rules. But for most kids, what harms them is learning that refusing food gets them special treatment. They'll be hungry. And you know what happens? They'll eat breakfast. Question 2. What if they have extreme picky eating? If your child has a diagnosed feeding disorder, sensory processing issues, or severe food aversion, you need specialized support. This approach is for typically developing children with common picky eating. But here's what I've seen. Most children don't have a disorder. They have a pattern that's been accidentally reinforced, and patterns can be changed. Question 3. What if they refuse the mandatory taste? This is where you hold the boundary gently but firmly. The tasting requirement stays consistent. It's the one thing you don't compromise on. You're not forcing volume. You're not demanding they finish. Just one taste. If they refuse, you stay calm. You don't pull the plate away. You simply say, in our family, we taste everything once. Take your time. And then you eat your own meal. You're not punishing them. You're just maintaining the expectation. And usually, they take the taste because they're hungry. But if they still refuse, you simply clear the plate when the meal is over. No anger, no lecture. The lesson happens when they feel hungry later, not during the fight now. So let's go deeper on this sensory talk technique, because it's one of the most powerful tools you have. In America, we've been taught the no comment rule. Don't praise eating. Don't criticize not eating. Stay neutral. That's better than pressure, but French parents do something more effective. They make food interesting. Instead of good job eating your peas, which creates performance pressure, you say, does it taste different from last time? What does it remind you of? Is it sweeter than the carrots? This teaches your child to pay attention to their food, to actually notice what they're eating. This is the foundation of mindful eating. You're teaching them food vocabulary. You're teaching them to be curious, and you're removing all the pressure. Now adjust your language to your child's age. For a 2-year-old, is it hard or soft? For a 5-year-old, does it taste different from last time? For an 8-year-old, what does it remind you of? The principle stays the same. The vocabulary grows with them. A few other tools that work alongside this. The exposure clock. Your child needs 8 to 15 exposures. Keep offering. No pressure, just presence. Family plate modeling. Eat the same meal. Let them see you enjoying the vegetables. Don't comment on it, just eat. If your child asks, do you like the broccoli, Mom? You can say, I do. It's crunchy and a little bit sweet. Then continue eating. That's it. Children learn more from watching than from being told. Predictable rhythm. Have consistent meal and snack times. When your child knows that snack time is at 3 p.m. and dinner is at 6 p.m., their body learns to expect food at those times. Their appetite aligns with the schedule. Look, I know this feels hard right now. You might be thinking, but I've tried being firm before and it ended in tears. Or, my child is different. This won't work for us. Let me give you realistic expectations about what's going to happen. Days 1 to 3, testing phase, your child might skip a meal or eat very little. This is completely normal and not dangerous. They're learning the new rules. And testing whether you'll cave. Don't cave. Days 4 to 7, you'll see the first shift. They'll start eating more at meals because they're genuinely hungry. Weeks 2 to 3, the battles will dramatically decrease. This starts to feel easier. By 4 to 6 weeks, this becomes your new normal. Everything you've been doing up until now, you were doing it because you care, because you love your child. You just didn't have all the information. And now you do. You're not teaching them to eat in this moment. You're teaching them a life skill. You're teaching them that hunger is normal and manageable, that new foods become familiar with time, that meals are predictable and safe. Remember at the beginning when I said that every backup meal trains your child to refuse? You're not doing that anymore. You're teaching them something completely different. Appetite, structure, and gentle exposure will do the heavy lifting. Your job is just to stay consistent and trust the process. Take a breath. You've got this. Now, this French approach solves picky eating. But if your child refuses meals, the real problem might be what's happening between meals. And most parents are making at least 3 feeding mistakes that destroy appetite without realizing it. Click the video on screen now to see what they are.